Alrighty, friends, we are back for your favorite podcast show of the week. It's Location Weekly. This is episode number 681, and we are recording on August the 5th. How are you, Abriana?
Good. I can't believe we're in August. It has been such a fast year. Um, but I'm good. I'm starting to feel, I had a summer cold last week and I'm feeling on the mend. So that's good. How are you doing?
Yeah, pretty good.
Holiday?
Yeah, it's a holiday week here or today's a holiday anyways, in pretty much, yeah, well, I guess all of Canada. They call it slightly different things in each of the provinces, but yeah, it's our civic holiday here in Ontario. But yeah, it's good to have a long weekend. Even when we have to do a podcast, it's still a good to have a long weekend. It's been a crazy weekend here because I don't know if you're familiar with this, but we have here in Toronto since even long before I was like a kid, but I remember going all the time when I was a kid to the Caravana festival here, which happens all weekend. So this is a very large West Indian, sort of like festival, with all the parade outfits and everything, just like you have in Trinidad or in Brazil or those kinds of things. So it's a huge thing. And growing up for me, it was we have a lot of family in New York and New Jersey, so you'd have like everybody driving up for the weekend and partying like crazy and in the streets and it's good and bad. Like you get the music, you get the food, you get like the festivities, and of course you get the violence too that comes with it. So it's but yes, there's been a couple of shootings this weekend,
Oh
unfortunately.
man. Well, that's too bad, but it sounds like a good time.
It's a good time. It's a good time.
Glad the shootings.
Yeah. Alrighty. So we've got a good show for you. Four stories as usual. I'll let Aubriana kick us off.
All right. So more of an update. As many of you probably use your Apple Maps or your Google Maps on your phone, and you maybe use it on the web as well. Well, now Apple Maps is finally available on the web. Did not realize it had not been, but it hasn't been. So this is in beta right now, and you can get driving and walking directions. You can also get reviews, view ratings in this web version on a desktop or a mobile browser. So what you're going to be able to do is you have to go to beta.maps.apple.com. That's a lot. And you can do basically everything that you can do on the iOS app version. So you can, like, again, view those guides. You can order food just like you might do from Google Maps. And they are planning to launch some additional features like look around in the next coming months. And it's available right now in English only, Safari, and Chrome on Mac and iPad, and then also on Windows PCs. So they're going to start supporting some other languages, browsers, and platforms in the future, as well as some other features. But that's it, just an announcement. I'm shocked that this has not been done yet. I don't know. I guess I just don't usually go to the maps on the web, which is probably why it hasn't been done yet. There's just not been a huge demand for it. Um, but I do think that this is important. Like access is everything, right? If you limit your access by OS, if you limit your access by whether you have an app or are just browsing on the web, I think you're just limiting the user base. And so it seems like a natural progression, right?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, it's obviously it's a good move for Apple to make this available on the web. I was with you. I wasn't aware it wasn't already there, but I think for me the thing is with this is, I'm an iPhone user, and an Apple ecosystem guy in general, but and so when I'm searching for things on my phone, I naturally gravitate towards, the Apple Maps that's there, and I use that, and for whatever I'm looking for, or directions or those kinds of things. I still use Waze occasionally when I'm, in the car or those kinds of things, but for the most part, it's Apple Maps. The interesting thing though, and here's where for me the challenge with this is this web version is, when I'm on my laptop and I'm, searching for, a hotel or something, trying to research a trip, that I'm doing or something like that, you know, I, I go to, my Google, search engine and I type in whatever, and then obviously the search results, if there's map pins associated with that are coming with Google Maps, information and all their services. So I guess the question I have for this is how will they bring, sort of the Apple Maps web version into search results, right? Like, is that something that's going to be, possible? Because otherwise, I don't see myself just naturally going to, Apple Maps on a web basis, to search for things because I'm still using, my Google search engine for pretty much everything when it comes to search. And whatever map they have integrated to that is what comes with it, which is Google Maps. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I definitely don't think about the user experience being the same by any means. Like in terms of like who the user is, I should say the persona is different. So I think it's just more about I am an Apple user as well. I think it's just like gonna be it would be a consumer shift, but I think there's plenty of people who are accessing maps on their desktop that are not using it on their phone. And they are just missing out on all of those addressable personas that kind of reside there, like our parents probably who like used to print out
Yeah,
MapQuest like directions, like play by play. Maybe they still want to be able to do that and they're not going to do that from their phone. So like how do they, I think it's just more about facilitating that interaction.
there you go. All right, on to our second story now. So we're going to jump over to Japan, and this is a story about Pizza Hut, who has struck a partnership with the Tamagotchi toys and brand. So it's 20 years now since the Bondi company introduced Tamagotchi connection to the world. Interestingly for me, this was, the kind of thing where it was, not quite, my kids were not quite into that. They were kind of just missed out on that. Certainly not in my generation. So, I didn't have a lot of exposure to Tamagotchi, but I know my like nieces and nephews who came along later, certainly did. So, this was a big thing. I don't know if it's, still a big thing with, your kids, for example, Aubriana, or not, but it's certainly been around for a long time. And so this is, this handheld pet with a infrared thing, and you kind of take care of this Tamagotchi pet, and you can do different things with it. And there's collectibles and all sorts of stuff that go with it. So what they're doing is to celebrate this 20 years in Japan, Pizza Hut has teamed up with them, and they've launched a sort of brand new collaborative lineup of 8 special menu items, as well as stickers and prizes for customers. But it's like fully integrated into the menu. So they've got this thing called the Hut Melts Pink Plus Fluffy Bacon. I can't even say it. It's so many words. Uh, Hut Melts Pink Plus Fluffy Bacon. So this is a pizza. They've developed a special like a pink color of the dough itself. Like, so they've never done colored dough like this, to kind of go with, one of the particular Tamagotchi characters called Mamachi. Anyways, so there's things like that going on. And then there's, other pieces to this where they're giving away, stickers of Tamagotchi characters transformed into Pizza Hut employees, into Pizza Hut branding. And these are available, when you purchase different things. And then there's a password on the back of the stickers that can then unlock a pizza item that you can use in a virtual world. So it's a tie into the metaverse here. So, this is one of the things I like about this campaign is not only does it tie into a brand that, kids and collectors are into, with the Tamagotchi piece, they're driving traffic to the stores, with these menu items and these stickers and these collectibles that people might want if you're into this. And then there's, sort of this tie back to the virtual world, with the pizza item that you can collect and use in there. So I think there's a bunch of things happening here. It's an interesting campaign, but for me, it's that online, offline, blending of worlds that I really like. And I assume there's some social components to this as well. They didn't talk about that in the news story in terms of sharing, or hashtagging, what you've got here. I know there is a Twitter or X component to it, but they didn't go into any detail. So your thoughts?
Not much to add. I just think, it's so interesting to me to look at the menu items that we have here in the States and then what they offer at the same fast food, branded location in another country. It's
Yeah.
very different. Um, Maybe more appetizing, maybe not. I'm not sure on that one, but I think you touched on all the important things, right? Like the ability to have this component be kind of digital as well as like physical, kind of like blending those worlds a little bit. And I do remember kids playing with these. It has not, I've seen them in the stores. My kids have looked at them, but it's never been something that they've wanted. But it seems like it's still a thing. So interesting campaign.
Yeah.
Pink dough, colorful dipping sauces. Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get over to something that I've been very interested in, and we've talked a lot this year about so far, which is retail media networks. This is a hot space, and Experian is getting its cut of this pie here. This is a massive addressable market, and they have a solution that they are rolling out now to help identify customers on retail media networks. So Experian is kind of like a crosswalk in many use cases where they're trying to match their data with other data sets. So you can go from, let's say, your ad server, your DSP to connect with a brand's data set. So really they're trying to help improve the match rate, right? How do you identify your customers in other environments within a network and then help advertisers reach those customers and measure the campaign impact, right? So they have a few different things or features that are part of this retail media offering. So they're finding patterns in audience behavior to kind of improve campaign performance. And they are really just trying to go in so that they have an opportunity to help the retail media networks improve their offsite dollars. So what does that mean? Media networks, typical retail media networks, they have their own assets, right? They have their website, they may have their email marketing, maybe they have some in-store signage, and they own all of that inventory. But they want to extend their reach and extend the opportunity to make money in this field, right? By saying, okay, you can reach our audience based on our data on our offsite media. So that could include third-party sites as well as CTV, which is a big thing. So they're really helping them like expand that, do audience extension. And there's kind of a few different components. Like I said, there's identity resolution. So how are they trying to kind of crosswalk or match your universe to that retailer's data? How do they get expanded insights, right? How do they kind of tap into understanding customer profiles, who they are? And then enriching that data and creating segments and audiences that can be used for targeting across all of these different audience networks and partnerships. And then maximizing reach and distribution, right? So how do you take an audience and expand upon it, make it bigger, have multiple touch points, and then measurement. Measurement's a huge piece of this because that's kind of, if you think of like if you're a CPG client, you're Tide or you're, Dove or whoever, like you don't have a lot of data that says they're not buying direct from you. So how do they measure whether their media spend and their budget allocation is impactful? Well, they've got to like partner with these. So I think like being able to look at in-store and online actions through maybe like an Instacart or a Kroger or a Target is really powerful. And the last thing I'll say about this is that we're seeing a huge amount of growth. I think it's like 100 and something billion that's looking in the next few years to reach in retail media, commerce media. Um, and they saw 16.3% growth in the US last year alone. So we're talking about some like really, I think there's going to be some consolidation, like maybe some of those media dollars are pulled from other places and being reallocated. But at the end of the day, I think it's mostly net new growth, which is pretty exciting to be talking about this space. So I think this is a great offering. I know there's lots of people that are using it. And these media networks don't come from a data background. So to be able to partner with someone who has that experience, to be able to work through some of those kinks, I think is it's gonna be a solution that's used and picked up a lot.
Yeah, not a ton to add to this. I think you've covered it so well. And just to pick up on the last point, I think that is the key point, right? We've seen a lot of retailers jump into this space, building these networks, trying to generate, revenue from, sort of a media play versus, the goods that they sell in their stores. And that's great, and there's companies obviously behind that and that are powering that, from a digital signage perspective and other things. But at the end of the day, Experian is an incredibly well-established, mature player in this market. They know and understand data very well. The measurement piece that you talk to, I think, is the key for me. um, along with the audience part, right? I think that if you can build audiences, you can retarget, you can link that across multiple channels, be it CTV or other things. It becomes way more interesting, right, in terms of how you start to segment that, right? And to the story we talked about last week with Google deciding not to deprecate their cookies. I think this just sort of lends into those alternatives that have been bubbling up since the original decision that they were going to do that. And I think that now you're going to have a market where both are coexisting. And in this case, I think Experian is bringing a ton of experience to the market. So I like it. All right, final story now. Back to the fast food world. This time, Yum Brands, which is a company that publicly traded company that owns Taco Bell and KFC and some of those types of brands, has announced that they're expanding their partnership with Voice AI technology. So this is something that they began piloting, a little while ago. They had about 100 stores in the US with drive-throughs across 13 states, where they're running this sort of voice AI technology. And now they've decided to kind of just expand that across hundreds of stores by the end of the year now. And so what is this all about? This is about, sort of streamlining processes for the staff members, improving order accuracy, making it more consistent and a friendly experience, reducing wait times, freeing up, the staff to do other, sort of higher value tasks than, just taking orders, through a drive-through. So, we're seeing more and more of this. They're not the only fast food chain, obviously, that's been playing with this. And then they also have something called their Poseidon POS system, which is proprietary to Yum Brands. And this has a next generation Taco Bell rewards loyalty program. And they're looking to integrate this as well together into the voice AI technology, so that it's all becomes a seamless experience. So, I think this is good. They're also looking to kind of see how this might play internationally with them. They're testing with 5 KFC restaurants in Australia, also using the same voice AI technology. And again, focused on just consumer friendly experiences, order accuracy, the same kind of things that you see with this. I will say this. I'm a McDonald's coffee guy. So if I'm on the road, I'll often stop and get coffee from McDonald's, and I have their app on my phone here in Canada. And I use it all the time. And so they have this thing where you pull up to the drive-through, you open your app, you have like your own sort of like time sensitive. It's just generated on in the minutes when you open the app, a QR, or sorry, not a QR code, a 4-digit code. And when they come on the with the voice piece to say, hey, are you collecting rewards today? They ask you for your code, and you just tell them your 4-digit number, and it recognizes you like on the other side. So it comes back, and on the screen on the menu board, it says, hey, Asif, we've got your number, thanks. And then you place your order. And then you drive through and pick up your food. Meanwhile, on the app, it comes back and says, hey, thanks, Asif, we've got your order. You've earned X number of points today. So it's all kind of tied together that way. And you're seeing more and more of these restaurant chains, with this integration between loyalty programs, the AI technology, the menu boards, and digital signage, and how all that comes together. And I think overall, I'm going to say it's becoming quite a seamless experience, and definitely more customer friendly than, yelling at you know, the person taking the order all the time. So any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I remember the first story we talked about for this. I mean, it's been almost a year probably, and so it's great to hear that they're expanding this and that, more and more quick service restaurants are investing in this. I think it's really important for them, especially in a day and time where there's really not great customer service for quick serve restaurants. I mean, I can think of one that there is really great service for, and beyond that, and I'm sure everybody knows who that is. Beyond that, it's like it is it's a toss up, right? And it's going to depend on the location and the time of day when you go and what your order is. And so I love just like continuing to streamline the service aspect. That's the a big I think it's a big thing to set apart. If you know that every time you go to a specific place that it's a problem and it's a challenge to get what you want, then eventually you just stop. How many times do you do that? So
Right.
I think these efforts are really important, and I think they're important to the future for the growth of these companies.
Exactly. Well, that's it. That's our show for this week. A good range of stories there. We thank you as always for your time, for listening, for watching. If you have story ideas, I know somebody did. Brianna mentioned this morning. Send us your story ideas. We always want to hear those and see if we can include them. If you have feedback for us, also reach out to us. If we've talked about you today on the show and you have more that you'd like to share about what we've covered or what we've said, reach out to us about that as well. But we appreciate your time. We thank you for it. And we'll see you next week with another show. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.